All right, welcome everybody. This is me just playing around here. I don't do a whole lot on Google Plus any longer since the virtual star party's kind of dropped off. But I'm, I'm a frequent person on this site called Night Skies Network, and I figured I'd share a little love here for the Google Plus world and to anybody on my Yahoo channel for a little bit before I roll on over to Night Skies Network and see how those folks are doing. But let me just give you a heads up here as what we are seeing here. This is a live image. I have across the top scrolling the equipment that I'm using. Lodestar is a CCD camera slash auto guider, and I'm using it in conjunction with a fantastic program called Lodestar Live by Paul Shears. He's out of the UK. And this is, of course, a monochrome camera. And what we're seeing here is the Lagoon Nebula right now. Beautiful sight to our, just about our south right now, if you were to step outside and see it for yourself. So let me pull up some information here. This is also referred to as Messier 8. And this is basically a star-forming region that we are checking out. All of that glowing gas that you are seeing there is being illuminated by the newest stars there in the core. And we're getting a real good area in detail here. The stars are nice and sharp. We're picking up some nice detail through the nebula itself. And 1 second here. There we go, show mouse pointer. Let me see if the show mouse pointer feature is working. Yes, all right. So cool. So yes, we are seeing all of this gas here glowing from the stars embedded within the nebula. We're picking up some great dark features here, dark dust lanes. Of course, the large dust lane right there through. Very, very easy to pick up, but I love the little filaments too that we're picking up with finer detail, the subtle detail up and around all of the nebula. Of course, we got some nice brighter region here in the nebula too. And again, here's some darker features, and just really picking up some okay detail there in the brighter region of the core of the nebula itself. There we go. Now we're adding a little bit more. We're dropping the black background down a bit while we're trying to enhance some of the brighter features. Hopefully that's coming through okay on the screen. And just a real nice view. By the way, I'm broadcasting out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Right there in the middle of Tennessee, Middle Tennessee area. I do have the group chat enabled, so for the duration of this broadcast, if you want to go ahead and pop in a question. I don't have the Q&A enabled. I always remember to not turn that on prior to going live. I wish there was a way to dynamically turn Q&A on and off, but no, apparently there's no way to do that. So just to get an idea of where we are pointed, I'm going to slide over the program that I use to find these objects. And right here below, you can see the green represents the horizon. And we are looking towards the center of our galaxy, basically, right here. The Milky Way is all through this upper region here, as denoted by these lines outline here of our galaxy. And as we go around here, there we are. We are looking right about here at the Lagoon Nebula. that is a fair representation of what we are seeing. This area, of course, is rich in deep sky targets. We have the Trifid that we might hit next here, a wonderful open cluster M21. And we also have another great nebula up here, very bright Omega, and one of my favorites, maybe we'll even hit that next, is the Eagle Nebula. Zoom in on these two here for us. This software doesn't do these objects justice, but does give you an idea of where we are about looking with the telescope pointed in the night sky. That target box there is what we are essentially looking at right now. And of course, the circle just represents a field of view. Let's go back to our target. And of course, the equipment scrolling through there again is Celestron C8. That's an 8-inch aperture telescope. Very modest. Lodestar X2. It's a guider slash imager. It's not really even an imager. I shouldn't even say that. It's mostly an auto guider. It means that astrophotographers use this camera to help guide their main scope and camera. But you can see just how well we're getting some details here. Hopefully that's coming through okay. And yeah, that looks like that's going through okay. So this is a fairly bright nebula in Sagittarius. You could easily spot this with a pair of binoculars, even modest pair of binoculars. You should be able to spot it. All right, so I'm back here. This is going to be a rather short demo. I'm just doing some testing out here. I'm just kind of getting the workflow of the Google Hangout and checking some things out. Let's just mix it up a little bit. So so this was M8. Beautiful star-forming region here, really picking up some of the subtle detail within the nebula. These lovely dust lanes. I love these features here. You can see a few of them all up and about, really getting some great features. Now, we're going to go ahead and stop for this target, and we're going to go over to another target. Let's go up to, I think I've already mentioned, the Eagle Nebula. So momentarily, that'll be up in here at the eyepiece. I'm going to drop my exposure down to just a few seconds so that we can go ahead and try to center the nebula itself once it comes into view. And let's see, that should be, yep, I can barely see it. Hopefully it's coming through okay. I can barely see it in just 5 seconds of exposure, so that's doing fairly nice here. Looks like a very nice night with transparency here in Middle Tennessee. I sure hope that you have the opportunity to get out at the eyepiece of your own telescope or at the eyepiece of even a pair of binoculars, because to the south right now is our Milky Way galaxy, and it is just beaming with fantastic targets such as the M8, Messier 8, Lagoon Nebula, and here coming up, this is a little bit tougher probably to see, but you're still going to see it in a pair of binoculars. This is the Eagle Nebula. Now, you're not going to see it with as much detail as we're going to be bringing up here, but I think you'll still be very impressed even if you scouted it with a pair of binoculars. And of course, if you have a telescope, you may also, depending upon the degree of light pollution in your area, you still might be able to spy a little bit of detail here in the nebula itself. So here is the Eagle Nebula. Just came up on screen, about a 45-second exposure. We're going to brighten this area up, and you can really start to see the Eagle. Oh, look at that. That is just, that's gorgeous in my opinion. Look at that. Look at how well, folks, that is coming through. That's one of my best M16, Messier 16 Eagle nebulas by far. This is only 45 seconds of exposure. So when we talk about astronomy live, well, it doesn't get any closer to live than being right there at 45 seconds. One of the things I find confusing on this Google Hangout here, oh, let me change the text that's scrolling through here, because we are not at 30 seconds. We're at about 45 seconds. Minor correction there. But look at that Eagle Nebula. Isn't that gorgeous? Sorry, I had to move some things around there. I'm getting more used to the interface here with Google Plus, and seeing that we have one viewer on board. Right, so we have that. So again, just trying to spread a little love here on Google Plus Hangouts. Thank you for the viewer that's joined in. I'm glad you're experiencing the view there. Of course, the Eagle Nebula, this is where it gets its namesake from. This dark dust lane of feature here in the shape, very prominently so, I think, of an eagle. Very, very cool. And of course, we're picking up some nice details here within the nebula itself. Again, these darker regions of dust. And I'm almost certain this is another star-forming region. Let me bring up my Sky Safari app, the application that I use to try to keep track of all these. No, I'm definitely not a scientist or astronomer, just somebody that loves the night sky and loves sharing it because it is beautiful and awesome and interesting and all those other cool things. So let me look up some little information here on the Eagle Nebula. Again, this is in Serpens. Now, this is a little bit higher up, if you remember, from Messier 8, the Lagoon Nebula. A little bit higher towards the north, but it's a little bit higher towards the horizon, so we're getting a little bit less effects of looking through the atmosphere there, perhaps. This is magnitude 6.4, whereas the lagoon was 6 magnitude, so this is a little bit brighter. And again, it is a star-forming region. You might remember this. It was a very famous telescope. The Hubble Space Telescope took the image of the pillars of creation, and that was right here in the nebula itself. So what we're going to do is I'm going to slide on over our application here. This is Sky Safari, and you can see this is a very famous photo from the Hubble Space Telescope, M16, the heart of that there, and of course the pillars of creation. And that is exactly, well, not quite exactly, but you know what I'm saying. This is pretty close to what, well, this is exactly what we're seeing right there. Our own version of the pillars of creation right here, live. That's what I get a big kick out of. I haven't really talked about distances. Let me look this up here. Looks like it's 5,700 light years away from us. And again, I always like to show where we're about pointed here. Here is the Eagle Nebula, which we are viewing right now. So I am zooming out. This is to our southwest, right about in between, and we are looking right towards almost our core of our galaxy. Let me change the way that we see that. There we go. So this is a photorealistic representation of our Milky Way. And this is embedded right on in there. So you can see the Eagle Nebula right here towards our south. So many beautiful things to look at towards our south right now. As we get closer and closer to fall, all of these wonderful things are going to get further and further closer to the horizon in this setting. So enjoy it while you can. Eagle Nebula, Pillars of Creation, right there live. You can't get much more live and experience the universe in real time than this. This is about a 45-second exposure. It's refreshing itself every 45 seconds. This is not an image that I've taken and tweaked. This is basically live right at the telescope right now. So what we're going to do from here, we're going to leave it on the M16 for a moment. Oops, sorry about that. I had my window covered up. By the way, I'm using a program that grabs an area of my desktop, basically, to share this online and that's why you get some of my mouse clicks and some of the other windows that pop up, etc. Because of just only so much desktop real estate that I have, even with two monitors. I have so many windows open that I can only move around and do them so much. All right, so I'm just trying to organize my windows a little bit more. What a great, great view. Beautiful. Okay, but let's move on here. Since I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here on Google Plus, I see that we have one viewer. I'm actually disappointed that we only have one viewer so far. The nice thing about Night Skies Network is you really have a lot of people that jump in there. They get notified via an RSS feed that basically somebody is doing something out at their scope, and they go ahead and jump in there. Let me look up, but that's okay because this is going to be on my YouTube channel for everybody to see down the road at their convenience. All right, so this is going to be Messier 17 coming up. This is another nebula, no doubt probably a star-forming region as well. This will be coming up here in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and drop our exposure down again just to a few seconds just to see us centering in our target. It's not going to take very long to bring that up. Let me just brighten it up a tad to see. Okay, yep. So there's 5 seconds. Just wanted to check to see if we were at least in the neighborhood, so to speak. We'll do another 30-second exposure and see what we got here with the Omega Nebula M17. Now this one is very bright. Omega Nebula. This is magnitude 6, very conspicuous even with a pair of binoculars. This is one I've seen. This is one I actually can pick up fairly easy with a pair of binoculars. Again, pretty much in the same vicinity as we were. This is actually Sagittarius, so this is a little bit below where we were, and oh, wow, look at that. Look at that gorgeous nebula come into focus here. This is 30 seconds view. You can't experience the universe any more live than this. You change the scrolling here. 30 seconds exposure. Granted, this is a monochrome imager. And I like monochrome actually because this is how you would see it at the eyepiece of your own telescope, unless you have a massive telescope. I'm talking over 40 inches probably. You're not really going to pick up the colors in this. And of course, speaking of the colors, this is, bringing on over here, this is how the image of M17, the Omega, or the Swan Nebula, it's also commonly called, comes up in an image with color. But of course, we're using a monochrome camera. Look at how interesting that is, though. Look at how close we are to seeing that it's exact orientation as that image is right there. That's pretty cool. But I like the monochrome because, again, it resembles what you're going to see at the telescope. You're not going to pick up those colors, but it's also very sensitive. It's a little bit more sensitive than color imagers. And because I don't want to go ahead and spend a whole lot of time and exposure times and things fidgeting with that, I want to get the fastest exposure and still be able to see and share the objects. So that's why I use what I use. Save this image because it's just great. Look at all the detail we're picking up here. Look at all the dark dust features we're picking up. We're even picking up some of the nebula back here outside of the brighter region. Just a great amount of detail tonight. Trying to kind of pick up where they get the swan shape from. I've never really, I guess maybe that this is the head and neck, and this would be the body, maybe. Maybe that's what they're picking up as the swan. That's the closest I can get to where they're going. Now you might notice on the images here that you see how the stars on the outside of the image are elongated. That is essentially a bit of a, I guess, problem with the imager and the spacing that I'm using. It's much improved over here on the right-hand side of the image than it is in the top upper left. So no, the stars are not shaped that way. They're all obviously points of light, but they're just getting a little elongated because of some optical defects going on. But that's okay. Still a fantastic view, I think. And again, this is 30 seconds exposure. Oop, got a little bit of movement there. Am I doing the guiding or not? I am doing the guiding. Or maybe I'm not doing the guiding. Ah, no, I am not even guiding. That's why we have a little bit of movement. So I actually use a separate camera to guide. You might have recalled at the beginning of the broadcast, this Lodestar X2 camera is an auto guide camera. This camera is generally what amateurs use to guide their larger scopes, but it actually makes a fantastic imaging device with the Lodestar Live software. So I'm using another camera on a smaller scope to guide and keep the stars. Now you can see the stars are nice and round, not being elongated whatsoever, because I'm doing some of the guiding now to correct for any movement of the mount and successfully guide the objects. Even though I'm using a 30-second exposure, sometimes it's going to shake or move a little bit. Let me capture that. All right, we are probably going to do one more object here for tonight's broadcast, maybe two. Let me just do a quick look here. I'll leave M17 up for a second. Actually, yeah, I'm going to move on over to a different class of object. We've had, what now, 3 active star-forming regions where we have some new stars coming up. We're going to go to an object class called a globular cluster that are some of the oldest objects in the night sky. And one of my favorites is Messier 22. M22. Now, one thing we'll do here too is with this type of object class, especially one as bright as M22, we don't need nearly as much exposure time on our little imager here than we would with these nebula. So that's a good thing. We're going to scoot on over here to M22. And you might notice that my voice goes in and out, by the way, and that's because I'm looking to two different monitors, so the microphone isn't exactly in the center between those two as I pan left and right. So forgive me there. And here, look at that gorgeous view. I get excited about this stuff, folks, as you probably can tell, because this is just fantastic. Let me start up my guider here. I mean, this is a complete look at that. An eyepiece, well, an electronic eyepiece, but still full of stars. M22 globular cluster is definitely one of my favorites. I remember actually looking at this for the first time with a telescope, and I actually had thought it was an open cluster. It only took me some digging in there and some research to realize that no, M22 is indeed a globular cluster. This is one of the oldest. Now this is magnitude 5.1 or thereabouts. And this is there we go. This is magnitude 5 in the constellation Sagittarius. 10,000 light years away. It's actually one of the nearest globular clusters too, at just 10,000 light years away. Just gorgeous. I mean, look at it doesn't really have a bright central core, but it's very uniform all the way across the globular cluster itself. Let me see if I can find out just how many stars make up this globular cluster. 500,000 stars make up this globular cluster. And again, globular clusters are some of the oldest objects in the galaxy. Now we do also have visible here this time of year, arguably the best globular cluster in the northern hemisphere, and that is the Hercules globular cluster, the great Hercules cluster, M13. But I got news for you. I just love M22. And this is not actually 30-second exposure. Let me fix that too. This is just a 15 seconds of total exposure time. So again, you can't get much closer to astronomy live than right now, than checking this out in 15 seconds and getting this type of image up on the screen. That's why I love doing that. I figure out how I can get back to, there we go. All right, so I'm going to take another snapshot of this just so that we have that from the Google Hangout, and I'm going to take a save of this too. My computer, so bear with me. There we go. Wish I could figure out how to get back to the screen that showed me the number of users. Control room. Let's go back to the chat, maybe. All right, M22, whole swarm of stars here. Tell you, I got the Google Plus Hangout window open, plus my window for my imaging setup, and I got to tell you, I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe because Google is making the screen larger. Probably that's what it is. But the view that I'm seeing here on the screen is sharper than the Google Plus. But still, it's conveying the universe, and that's all really that matters. Beautiful, beautiful globular cluster. And the sky's full of them right now. Sagittarius has a number of globular clusters that are visible. One of the other constellations that has probably 5 globular clusters, and some of them are quite respectable, is Ophiuchus, and that is up and visible right now. In fact, it is just a little bit higher and further to the west than Sagittarius. So this is the globular cluster. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap the episode up on one more type of object that we have not seen, but it is certainly the best one in the northern hemisphere. I'm not going to say it yet. I'll surprise you. This will be the grand finale before I wrap up the episode. Hopefully we can go ahead and schedule some of these up as being future events. Maybe draw in a few more people, just like the virtual star parties used to be. But we'll see what we got. Love to do this while we're doing a virtual star party one time. Hopefully Fraser schedules another one of those events up. And what we are trying to bring up in here, there it is. Look at that. I couldn't even, that took my breath away for a second because I wasn't expecting it just to pop on the screen so wonderfully. This is, look at that. I'm blown away. This is M57. I've seen it so many times. But to see it like this and to know that I'm sharing it live is so fantastic. Wow. This is a 15-second exposure. Again, you can't get get the universe live much more than this. You can't experience astronomy live closer than what we're seeing here right now. M57, it's a planetary nebula. Obviously, it's called the Ring Nebula for obvious reasons. Very, very beautiful right now. We can see 2 central stars in here. Now, it's interesting to note, I remember Pamela Gay, Dr. Pamela Gay, being on the virtual star parties and pointing out that the central star is not actually the white dwarf associated with this particular planetary anyway. It just happens to be in line of sight. So I do find that interesting. But we're still picking up That star, we're still picking up another one right over here at moments of good seeing. You can go see it go in and out there. And of course, the wonderful ring structure going all the way around. Just gorgeous. I'm so excited to be able to do that. Wow, I can't wait to get on a little bit later and share this with some other folks. But here you go. Right now, this is Astronomy Live, and you're experiencing it. 15-second exposure, the Ring Nebula. Now, this is much higher up in the night sky. This is in a constellation called Lyra. And I'll go ahead and we'll show you about where that is. So here is our planetarium program, and we'll zoom out a little bit. The green down here represents our horizon. So of course, green is Earth, basically. We can't see anything below that. So this is basically, if you were to look towards the west and look just about straight up, this is right overhead. This is called the zenith. And you're going to see a bright star. That bright star is the star Vega. And Lyra is not a large constellation, but fortunately it's made up of some pretty bright stars that make it relatively easy to point out. And M57 is actually pretty easy to find because, as you can see here, between these two bright stars, just about in the middle, is our M57, the Ring Nebula. Now let me show you something here. There we go. This is your color image of the Ring Nebula. As you can see, the two stars here are the same stars that we're seeing in our field of view. If I move out here, we can see those two stars very, very easily just in the 15 seconds of exposure time that we're doing right now. In fact, let me up our exposure time just a little bit because maybe we can pull in a little bit more. We're going to double our exposure time, actually. I'm thrilled that we're able to get this. I'm going to do another one at 15 seconds. I'm so enthusiastic because it's like 15 seconds of exposure to see something like this. This looks like a photograph. And to get it like that in just 15 seconds is just amazing to me. We're going to go up to 30. I usually image this with 30. Here we go. I think this is, yep, this is our first image at 30. So this is 30 seconds. And I'm going to brighten some things up here because I'm looking for something that I know is out there, but I'm not sure if we can actually see it tonight just at 30 seconds. Somewhere in our field of view here is a small little galaxy right near M57, if I'm not mistaken. Let me bring up my chart again, and let me see if I can go ahead and pinpoint that a little bit better. I might not even have it on this chart, but I was pretty sure that there was a galaxy. Yes, IC 1296. That is the numerical designation of the galaxy itself. And whether or not I can pick it up here in the image, well, that's just proven to be a little hard, I guess. I'm thinking it's over here. That's what I suspect, is that it's right over here. But I cannot be 100%. It's a relatively dim galaxy. I see 1296 at magnitude 14. But at 30 seconds, I'm more than pleased. At 30 seconds of exposure to be able to share the Ring Nebula at this amount of exposure. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just we're even picking up some subtle detail within the ring itself. Look at all the detail that we're picking up. You can easily see those two stars. I'm going to do a quick save again. And with that, I know it was short, but I sure hope it's been sweet because I'm going to wrap it up here. Just wanted to do a quick Google Plus hangout on this and get more familiar with using this in the live fashion with the setup that I'm using for the scope and the camera and all that good stuff. So I sure hope you enjoy it. If you want to follow me, of course, that's John Kramer on Google+. You can also find me at the main blog site at theeyepiece.blogspot.com. I do a podcast as well that you can see on that page. Just click on the listening or the podcast tab there. And you can also subscribe to it on iTunes if you want. Just look up at The Eyepiece. And of course, I post these videos up. Google posts them up automatically to YouTube. You also have that YouTube is John Kramer. You also have it at The Eyepiece on YouTube as well for more astronomical related stuff there dedicated to the show and stuff. So sure hope everybody checking in on this has enjoyed it. I know I certainly have. It's been a great night so far to do it. We'll do more of these, no doubt, in the up and coming months, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.